German pilots mocked the Tuskegee Red Tails, then US aces racked up over 100 kills. In the smoky briefing rooms of the Luftwaffe, German fighter pilots chuckled at the news. Niger Piloten, they sneered, black pilots. They won't last a week. Easy targets. Red tails to mark them out. Better for us. The room echoed with laughter. The very idea that African-American men whom even their own country had doubted, segregated, and labeled incapable, would challenge the deadly Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs of the Third Reich, it seemed like a joke. But history would prove them wrong, because those same pilots, the men of the Tuskegee Airmen, would soon carve their names into the skies of Europe. They would fly with courage that silenced the mockery. They would escort American bombers deep into enemy territory, earning a reputation for never abandoning their mission. And they would rack up over 100 confirmed aerial kills against Germany's best. This is the story of how mockery turned into fear, and how the Red Tails became legends. But to truly understand the legend, we must begin where it all started, not in the skies above Europe, but in the dusty airfields of Alabama, where a dream seemed impossible. America in the 1940s was a nation at war abroad, and divided at home. Jim Crow segregation dictated daily life. Black men could fight, but not as equals. Many believed they lacked the intelligence, discipline, or courage to fly. The official U.S. Army War College even published a study claiming African Americans were unfit for aviation. Yet in Tuskegee, Alabama, something radical was happening. The Tuskegee Institute, founded by Booker T. Washington, became the unlikely training ground for America's first black military aviators. Here, in sweltering heat and under crushing prejudice, young men learned to master flight. Imagine it, dusty runways, aging trainers, mechanics working with limited tools. But in the cockpit, there was freedom. Men like Benjamin O. Davis Jr., the son of America's first black general. Davis was quiet, disciplined, and relentless. He knew that the only way to silence doubt was through absolute professionalism. His mantra, perform so well that even your enemies must respect you. Others joined him: Charles A. Train Dryden, Lee Archer, Charles Hall, men who carried not just the weight of war, but the weight of proving an entire race worthy. Their training wasn't just about flying, it was about enduring humiliation. White officers sometimes refused to salute them. Local towns tried to ban them from public places. But still, they trained. Still, they flew. By 1942, the 99th Fighter Squadron was formed. The Tuskegee experiment, as skeptics called it, was no longer just an experiment. These men would go to war. And Germany was waiting. North Africa. The desert sun blazed as the 99th Fighter Squadron arrived in 1943. Their mission, support Allied operations against Rommel's Afrika Korps. The first sorties were rough. The men flew Curtiss P-40 Warhawks, tough, but outclassed by sleek German Messerschmitt Bf-109s. Early missions yielded few victories. Some bomber crews doubted them. Even U.S. commanders hesitated, whispering that maybe the War College had been right. And in Germany, word spread. The Luftwaffe's pilots sneered. A German intelligence report mocked the idea of colored aviators. They laughed at their bright tail markings, calling them targets painted red. But the Red Tails were learning. Each mission taught them discipline. Each failure steeled their resolve. Then came a turning point. Over Pantelleria, Charles Hall spotted an enemy Focke-Wulf 190. Diving into combat, Hall squeezed the trigger. Tracers lit the sky. The German fighter spiraled down in flames. It was the first confirmed kill by a Tuskegee Airman. The laughter began to fade. By 1944, the Tuskegee Airmen transitioned to the aircraft that would define them, the P-51 Mustang. Sleek, fast, long-range, the Mustang was the bomber escort America desperately needed. To set themselves apart, the Tuskegee squadrons painted their tails crimson red. Soon, bomber crews began calling them simply the Red Tails. For the men who flew them, the red paint was more than decoration. It was identity. It was defiance. It was a warning. And with new planes came a new mission: bomber escort. Bomber crews had long complained of escorts abandoning them mid-mission to chase glory kills. But not the Red Tails. Benjamin Davis Jr. drilled it into his men: stay with the bombers. Protect them. Our mission is discipline. The result? Bomber crews began to notice. Survivors returning from missions whispered, those Red Tails, they never leave us. For the first time, the laughter of German pilots began to sound hollow. It began with a few encounters. Then more. Then dozens. Lee Archer, often called America's only confirmed black ace, tore through enemy fighters with precision. Archer himself downed multiple German aircraft in a single mission. Roscoe Brown famously engaged and destroyed a German Me-262 jet fighter, the world's first operational jet, faster than anything in the sky. Imagine the courage, a piston-engine Mustang chasing down the future of aviation and winning. Again and again, German pilots underestimated them. Again and again, Red Tails turned mockery into shock. By mid-1944, their tally soared. Over 100 confirmed kills. Bombers escorted deep into enemy heartlands returned safely because of them. One American bomber pilot said, "When we saw those red tails, we knew we were going home." For the Luftwaffe, the joke was over. The Red Tails record became legend. They flew over 15,000 sorties, destroyed more than 260 enemy aircraft in the air, another 950 on the ground, and sank enemy shipping. But perhaps their greatest victory was psychological. German commanders instructed pilots, "Do not underestimate the red-tailed Mustangs." Bomber crews wrote letters begging for red-tail escorts. Even the U.S. brass, once skeptical, showered them with commendations. But the price was high. Many Tuskegee Airmen never returned. Their sacrifice was written in smoke trails and burning wreckage. Yet with every loss, the survivors fought harder. Because every mission wasn't just about war. It was about proving dignity, equality, and honor. Narrator: the war ended in 1945. The Red Tails returned home victorious, but still to a segregated America. Yet their example could not be ignored. President Harry Truman, in 1948, signed Executive Order 9981, desegregating the U.S. military. Historians agree, the Tuskegee Airmen's record played a decisive role. Their legacy soared beyond the clouds. They paved the way for future generations, for astronauts, generals, leaders. When asked years later what their greatest achievement was, many didn't mention kills or medals. They said, "We proved we could fly. We proved we belonged." Remember the laughter in that German briefing room? The sneers, the dismissals, the certainty that these men would fail? Now imagine those same German pilots, looking over their shoulders, scanning the skies, and seeing red tails diving from the sun. The laughter was gone, replaced by fear, by respect. The Tuskegee Airmen had done more than escort bombers. They had carried an entire nation's dignity on their wings. They had shown the world that courage knows no color. And when the smoke cleared, when the last dogfight ended, history remembered not the mockery, but the victories. The Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen, American heroes.